of the day, and it's time for aLive versus NesTea. Let's get right into it. There you guys see Fnatic aLive on the left-hand side, and IAM's NesTea on the right. The countdown clock has just begun. Both players are preparing for the matchup.
Now, one thing that I have to mention, I was just backstage with NesTea, standing right next to him. There were production crews moving around him. There were people talking. NesTea was in another place. I'm telling you, he didn't even look at a single person that was next to him.
Yeah.
He was in a StarCraft meditation zone that I have never seen a player go into before a match.
It's kind of interesting, too, because I had a chance to talk to NesTea, and he actually has some pretty good English, all things considered. The map has now begun. And we do have Fnatic aLive spawning as the Terran down in the bottom left-hand corner. The map is Cloud Kingdom. And in the top right-hand corner, we have NesTea.
Now, Cloud Kingdom, a very interesting map. Short distances between the two mains here. You do see a lot of very aggressive strategies. And recently, a lot of players, you know, Stefano is definitely a pioneer of this, have been using that heavy, you know, Ling Infestor style into potentially Ultralisks with a lot of upgrades, dual Evo chambers, just a lot of map control. Now, on the flip side, we've seen Terran players using a lot of really interesting strategies as well.
Yeah, and I have to say on this map, a lot of people always say that it's a map where it's all about being able to control your position. This is a very complex map, and you have to be able to control the center, the high ground, the areas that are choked off. It's very important, and we're looking at it right now on the screen. Siege tanks on the high ground here can be extremely effective. So look for aLive to start to incorporate siege tanks into his play and really control the middle of the map, Cloud Kingdom, to his advantage. But having said that, Ping User, there has been this kind of recent resurgence with Terran players starting to take tanks out of their play and using more Marines in TVZ. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the Marine King has been using bio quite a bit recently, showcasing some beautiful all-bio play with a little bit of mech thrown in there, and his results from the Winter Championships of MLG really just show that you can work a style with no tanks into your TVZ and make it effective.
But you do need to have top bio control, just such as Marine King, Jakchi. You really need to be able to be one of the top Terran players when it comes to controlling Marines to take out tanks from your builds.
Indeed. So, looking at the builds here, Fnatic aLive looks like he's going to be grabbing a command center on the low ground here. He does already have that SCV out. Meanwhile, we did see a 15 hatch, 15 pool on the other side from our Zerg player, NesTea.
All right, so NesTea's opening up with a pretty common build here. You know, get the 15 hatch down. You want to expand right away as Zerg. Take control of as many hatcheries as you can. And ZVT has really been pretty much like that since the inception, since StarCraft 2 first came out. It hasn't really been that many changes with regards to you want to get a hatchery out right away, you want to expand. And he's actually going to get another hatchery down here.
Wow. NesTea taking a very big risk here. Keep in mind, he hasn't even produced a single Zergling yet. There are the first two, but he's already dropped 2 hatcheries. So NesTea is really banking on aLive, not scouting this early and not applying some early pressure. If aLive applies some early pressure or sniffs out this early third, NesTea could be in a lot of trouble. And there we have an Overlord getting caught out in the midfield. Very, very good cognizant awareness of the map by aLive right there. I don't think he'll be able to get the Overlord though. Run, Mr. Overlord, run!
I don't think it's going to be able to make it away, man. That Marine is on him, and he's trying to hide in that little doodad right there, but the Marine is going to be able to take him down. That Overlord
Here
will not
come
be able
the
to hide.
Lings!
The Zerglings were coming, but it was just a little too late. And now that Marine is going to be able to chalk up one Overlord kill under his belt and walk back home and regroup with his buddies.
And little things like that just throw off your psychology so much in a match that's this important. Every little thing like that adds up from the beginning of the game on. So, you know, NesTea, a player who's obviously doesn't have nerve issues, doesn't really get affected by things like that. But just a nice little pick off there for aLive.
Yeah, well, NesTea is just one of those players that, for the longest time, when he was the reigning champion, everyone said, hey, NesTea, best Zerg player in the world. Of course, now that is Dongray Gu. he just knows when to drone, when to stop. He knows exactly how to play out his build order to maximize his efficiency, and he knows when to cut drones. That was really his claim to fame. I'm really, really interested, Pain User, to see if he's going to be able to get back in top form here at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas for IPL4.
Oh, and it looks like aLive is actually going with the build that we've been seeing so many Terran players use recently. They open up with that reactored Hellion, then they rotate the barracks over, drop a tech lab, swap that onto the starport, get a few Banshees out. Now, where we're going to have to see where he goes from here is whether he grabs Cloak or whether he just chooses to get out a few Banshees for map control and some potential harass.
Well, he does have 250 gas saved up, so quite a bit, and he could definitely get the Cloak and the Banshee at the same time. And of course, usually when Terran players get Cloak, then they're going to make 2 Banshees, and they can even save up both and go in at the same time just to make sure they do as much damage as possible. The Zerg is leading the Terran economy right now at 46 drones, and we can see that starport swapping onto the tech lab.
Now, this build that we see here from aLive, execution is everything, and there we have it. The Cloak is on the way, so aLive is taking a pretty big risk here. He's investing a lot in Cloak right now, so these Banshees really need to do some damage. We have some Hellions here poking in the third, trying to pick off a few Zerglings. Right now, he's just feeling out NesTea, applying a little bit of pressure, but NesTea does have those 3 roaches, and he will be able to make a hold here.
You know, the thing I really like about going with the Banshee build against Zerg, if you start to move out with Hellions in the first place, you're going to be able to distract the Zerg, force them to make maybe a couple of crawlers, a couple of roaches, as we can see here from NesTea. And crawlers and roaches don't attack air, so when those Banshees come in, they can be surprisingly effective, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, there's a second Banshee on the way. So what aLive is probably going to do here is wait for both Banshees to come out, wait for Cloak to finish, and then move in with both at the same time and do a ton of damage.
Yeah, he actually has a 3rd Banshee queued up as well right now. Interestingly enough, he did queue up 3 Banshees there. He's also adding quite a few Raxes, 3 additional Raxes. That'll make 4 for him, getting the tech lab on the factory. So aLive is certainly going to transition into a more standard a bio tank build here. But he's going to have an opportunity to do some harassment with these Banshees. First Banshee making its way into the natural right now. Going to go ahead and pick off a few drones here. There is no Spore Crawler up. NesTea sustaining some heavy damage at the natural. There goes the Cloak. There is no detection. He might actually kill the Spore Crawler. This could be disastrous for NesTea. He's taking some really heavy damage here in the early game.
And that Spore Crawler at the natural was just killed off. aLive sending in only 1 Banshee at first, and then going to send in the other one over to the 3rd. 3 Spore Crawlers now trying to go down at the natural to save this from the air bombardment, but so many drones have gone down already, Pain User, and aLive is ripping through the economy of NesTea's 6 workers killed, and he is going to be able to get out of there alive.
And aLive saves that Banshee, so important. He will be able to recycle that later on. Banshees are a very expensive unit, so that's just a nice little save right there for aLive. And this second Banshee coming in right now gets a single pick off, but NesTea has protected the important parts of his base. Queen goes down right there, but that's a loss that NesTea can afford to take right now. He's on 3 base. His economy is really starting to kick in right now, and I think he's in a position where he feels pretty safe.
Yeah, well, he's got 4 hatcheries total, 3 plus the macro hatchery. That's going to allow him to reproduce the queens pretty easily. I would like to see him, work a little bit more on that creep spread, but right now he's so focused on defending the Banshee that he hasn't started to expand the creep yet, and we all know how important creep really is. It's a buffer zone against the Terran, and here we have the Hellions running in. There is no buffer zone, but there's a lot of Zerglings here, and they might be able to surround those Hellions. They'll at least get 2, but no, he's going to go for the main pack of 4, and he's going to get at least 1 kill, 2 kills, and a 3rd Hellion kill getting racked up there, so he has been able to control some of the ground territory back on his side.
Yeah, now we do have a Zergling force here making its way over to aLive's natural. It looks like NesTea might be going for a little run by here, but aLive certainly has enough forces to potentially launch an offensive of his own. Stim and +1 gonna finish here within 4 to 5 minutes. He will have a solid timing, or actually Combat Shield gonna finish, excuse me. Stim is already finished, so Combat Shield and +1 will be coming through at the same time right when he needs them for this push here. NesTea scrambling to get some Banelings at the 3rd, needs to make a hold, needs to make a defense here. Banelings do not have speed yet. Speed is about 30% of the way done, and here is aLive making his move on the 3rd right now. Siege tanks sieging up in a great position here. NesTea is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, NesTea certainly is. Here comes the Zerglings and the Banelings without speed. Of course, course, NesTea not having that creep buffer zone, so he has to fight where the hatchery is, and that's never a good spot. That Banshee also doing tons of damage inside the base here, and NesTea really just scrambling, deciding which way do I want to go. Now he's going to go down the ramp. He doesn't have Baneling speed. The Banelings are they going to go on the tanks? No, they're going to go after the Marines. Even drones coming out of the line to fight as well. Good detonation on that Baneling, but those Marines are going to be able to tug underneath the mineral patches and do as much damage as they possibly can. NesTea, though, will be able to clean up this attack. Not bad.
And what a beautiful hold from NesTea. You could hear the crowd putting their hands together. That was just an amazing hold right there, pulling the drones off of the line and able to hold out.
But you know what? At the end of the day, I really feel like aLive did a lot of damage with that attack. He killed off so many drones.
aLive has actually killed 23 workers thus far to the 1 of NesTea. So aLive doing a great job in that department.
I was looking at that ping user, and I'm really happy for NesTea that he was able to hold it off, but he had to pull drones off the line. He took huge amounts of damage there. And even though aLive's entire army was wiped out and he has to reset from scratch, that's still, I think, a victory at the end of the day for the Terran player. And NesTea here is going to have to figure out a way to recover that economy that he lost, start to expand more and more rapidly, and take control of this game again.
Yeah, now if we look over at aLive's base, he does have dual upgrades going right now on the engineering bays. He is adding additional reactors. Now over at NesTea's side of things, he does have that macro hatch up. He is continuing to build on that Mutalisk ball. I don't know how large he wants to make the Mutalisk ball because it seems like he's mixing in production of other units as well. You see him producing Banelings and Lings right now. So usually when Zerg players transition into that Muta phase, they strictly build Mutas and Lings for quite some time and really get that Muta ball to a size where it's very threatening. But we see aLive focusing much more on Lings right now, 50 in production, so he's going to have a gigantic ground army.
Mutas able to pick off a tank on the high ridge there. That's why controlling the high ground on this map is so important. Even though the Terran had vision with that Zelnaga tower below those Mutas, when they get up to around 15 in number, they're really effective at sniping out individual key units. And I think that's why NesTea has kind of cut off production here. He's not going to go with the old Idris style, just making a ton of Mutas. He wants to have, that's actually quite a bit of Mutas right there, so he can do a lot of damage, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we look here, NesTea has his forces off to the left of mid right now. He seems to be baiting aLive with the Mutalisks. aLive just now starting to make his move outside of the natural. NesTea is just waiting for a flank here. You can see him positioning his units in the midfield. aLive has to make a move at some point. He's making that move right now, and it looks like he might just encounter NesTea's army here head on.
Oh, wow.
NesTea coming from both sides. Can he do it? NesTea crushing through aLive.
Wow,
beautiful flank right there.
Tearing that entire army apart. The Thor has to flee away. It's going to get surrounded, but it gets picked up by the medevac. Nice micro right there from aLive, man, but he did lose his entire army, and now the Zerglings are knocking at the front door. There are some Marines and a tank kind of clogging that up, but the Banelings are now coming in, and NesTea is going to do so much damage here. He's going to return the favor after he lost all those drones. He's going to take some SBs down to hell with him, and it looks like all of them have to scramble up the main.
aLive might be able to hold on here, but the damage has been done. NesTea has absolutely ransacked his natural, now coming in and camping those ever so important production facilities for a Terran player. And aLive is just going to have to tap out here soon. NesTea is just a force of nature right now. Banelings coming into the main base. I don't know what aLive thinks he's going to be able to do. He's in a lot of trouble here.
He's trying to fight with his SCVs. That didn't turn out so well. He just lost quite a bit, and now the SCV is trying to run away from the Banelings, but not going to be a good situation at all, and it looks like aLive is probably going to have to tap it.
In the words of Dustin Browder, we have some terrible damage going on right now. And I don't know that aLive is going to be able to recover from it. He's certainly suffering from some rigor mortis here because he is certainly dead.
Wow, well, all that preparation and meditation that NesTea had when he was chilling backstage, you were next to him, looks like it did him good. I even saw him stretching and everything, and it seems like it's all coming together right now. If you had any doubts about NesTea returning to form, I think that doubt has been erased in this very first game, the first set between aLive and NesTea.
Yeah, no doubt about it. NesTea just rallying in additional Zerglings here. aLive trying to do everything he can, microing single Marines in and out of the medevacs. He's just trying to get those Lings off of his production facilities. He does still have 3 orbital commands. And there it is. GG's called.
Well, NesTea, aka Zergbong from the old days, showing that he's still got it and taking the very first game here. at the Cosmopolitan for IPL4.
Yeah, very.